Okay, guys, now I've got to talk about PDAI because PDAI has been causing, it's shaking the PulseChain ecosystem. And the exciting thing is, if you look at the numbers, right, it's having millions of dollars of transactions a week, right? It dates about $1 million worth of transactions on the PDAI and wrapped Pulse Pay. That means people do like to trade some of that PDAI. Now, there's what gives PDAI value, right? PDAI's value comes from the fact that there's some conspiracy theories that Richard Hart or someone close to Richard Hart is building PDAI and is building a tropa, right? And that's what's giving value to this. And I must say, right, I didn't realize the power of that narrative until when I started looking at the numbers, and I realized that PDAI is consistently always on the top of the chart in terms of volume on PulseChain. PDAI many times has more volume than the Richard Hart ecosystem tokens themselves. So this is a powerful narrative. Now, I will say this. I do not think that PDAI is going to do well over time. The reason is simple. PDAI is still one of those coins that has a significant amount of holders that are on the Ethereum side. Now, where do people get PDAI from? PDAI comes from the free airdrop, right? When people who held DAI on Ethereum also got PDAI. So what that means is that there's a lot of people who have free PDAI that they can always dump on the PulseX. So if PDAI becomes valuable enough, right? Now the target is PDAI hits $1. If PDAI hits $1 and you're on the Ethereum side and you had 100,000 PDAI and you know that PDAI is not backed by 1:1 with the dollar, the same as DAI on Ethereum is, what would you do? You have $1 million worth of PDAI, because you held DAI at the fork of PulseChain. What are you going to do? You're going to dump that stuff. And this is not something new. We saw this with the Pepe. When Pepe farms were created, there was massive amounts of liquidity flowing to the Pepe pairs, and that caused the price of Pepe on PulseChain to pump. And then the Pepe community started dumping on PulseChain's head. Simple. The same formula will work out in this case. And if the only question is this, when that dump comes, will the holders of PDAI have diamond hands enough to hodl through that pain? Will they hodl being exit liquidity from DAI holders from Ethereum? Would they be able to handle that? And that's a question that in my view, the simple answer to that is no, they won't. That will probably be the end of PDAI. Now, here's the thing. If PDAI clearly has captivated people's minds and hearts in the PulseChain ecosystem, if it can grow enough to the level where it reaches escape velocity, that means it now has staying power. That means that despite what happens, it will still hold. But I think that's a really hard bar, and that's a tall order to ask. And I think, so for that reason, I think, in my view, that I don't think that PDAI will survive that. And the fact that it's based on conspiracy theories, Richard Hart is quiet, right? What happens when he starts talking, right? Then the truth will come out, right? Because I don't think that Richard Hart will just give value to DAI holders when he can just create the same thing on PulseChain if he really wants to give value, and then give the entire value on the PulseX. Because this, for the most part, is not yet additive right now. Well, it's somewhat additive, right? It is clearly bringing in some new people in the space, but not strong enough, right? If it becomes strong enough that it can live on its own, then yeah, maybe we can tell a different story. But for me, I think that the risk here is too high, and the likelihood that Richard Hart is involved in this, in my view, is not that much, because he simply can just create his own stuff instead of one of the reasons why PulseChain was created, because Richard Hart was like, okay, look, these people on Binance Smart Chain have never done us any good. These people on Matic, because PulseChain was created to make it easy for people to buy and hold hex. The big problem that happened back then was you stake your hex, and then all of a sudden the transaction fee to unstake your hex is higher than the value of your hex. You have a hex ladder, you did the right thing, but now you're wrecked because you can't get out of Ethereum. That's one of the main reasons why PulseChain was created. Because Richard Hart could have simply used Polygon, used BNB Smart Chain. He could have used other blockchains in order to solve the transaction fee problem, but he didn't do it because it was just pumping up an ecosystem that had never done anything to help us. Now the same logic here applies here. Why would Richard Hart pump up the DAI ecosystem when they have clearly not yet done anything to help the ecosystem? I mean, yes, we use DAI, but the team has never outright really helped the ecosystem. But we've definitely brought people to that side. So for that reason, I don't think that Richard Hart has anything to do with this. And I think that when the time comes and he's much more vocal, it'll be clear that he has nothing to do with it. So anyway, guys, yeah, those are my thoughts on PDAI. Let me know what you think in the comments below. We might have one or two brutal comments. No, let's not have those brutal comments. Now, there's a reason why we shouldn't have those. Because they obviously don't foster an environment of good communication, right? Well, most people do this in this space, right? Because what you end up having with harsh comments is you end up having people who don't tell you what they really think about stuff. Instead, they just tell you what you want to hear. And that's one of those things that happen a lot in the crypto space. So if you got your big boy pants, big girl pants, and you can add a little bit of criticism, hit the points, attack the points the best way you can. Tell me why I'm wrong if you think I'm wrong, and if if you know I'm right, tell me why I'm right. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you again next time.